Maybe by the end of this, my whole thing, it'll be about 50% compliments. It'll look like I really, really enjoyed the film.
Welcome back to Modern Horror Stories podcast. And today we are going to be talking about how we would improve the 1984 movie Don't Open Till Christmas. As always, kudos to the people who made this film. We haven't made a film yet. It's a difficult thing to do. Also, we're going to be talking about things that will be obviously spoilers. If you haven't seen this film, go and see this film. However, with all due respect, this is how we would improve this movie. Who wants to go first?
Not really.
I'll go first. So I thought throughout there was some very good camera work, great locations and great use of those locations, although I would have preferred actually fewer locations and more continuity of story. The main reason I go to see films is for a story, and I felt that this was more of a series of random vignettes than an actual continuous story. That has its place in cinema as well, but it didn't work for me. So that's the first change I would make, and come back to me for the other two.
Yes, I reckon I'm going to be very, very brief because I think my things, they're quite big, and I don't think there's much point me going into detail because essentially this is going to change the film entirely. So I'd recast almost completely. I'd maybe keep Evan Purdom, but find something for him to do that's a bit more interesting. And the second thing is, yeah, I completely agree with Jamie. It just needs to be tighter. Just tightening up the entire. I'd love to know for a fact that my main characters were Kate, Cliff, and Purdom's character Harris. If we just had those characters there and they were at the focus of the investigation, give Kate and Cliff maybe a bit more of an impetus to actually do their own investigation, and have that as the driving force. Have these kind of three different people all investigating the same crime, one as a couple, one as an individual, and just tighten everything down. There's all sorts of stuff that I thought could be cut. And yeah, I think that's my main thing. I think just cutting it down, making it tighter, having a bit more intention and impetus with each of the characters. Because occasionally it felt like characters were there just to sort of be titillation. But yeah, ultimately it I think comes down to just tightening it up, just sucking all the fat out of it.
I would leave the movie exactly as it is. Not because it's perfect, but of all the films we've seen so far, this is the one that I feel like if they said, could you remake this film? I'd love to try to remake this film. So I feel like it's got the ingredients of a good movie. I like the mask. I like the festive backdrop and the killings. I like all the locations, which Jamie was talking about yesterday. A movie set around the London dungeon and maybe more London theatre locations. I changed the literal "don't open till Christmas" meaning to something else. So in the actual movie, there's a bomb and it gets open on Christmas Day and kills the lead character. But so I would find a way to change that from something literal to something that's more of a metaphor. And then this movie itself would become like an Easter egg or a kind of research film that would be inspiration for our remake. Because I think the three of us could remake this film. And the film that we would make would be an amazing film, obviously. But people could then dip into the original to see where we got our bits of inspiration and to see how we used it. And so it becomes like an extra. This film becomes an extra on our remake of the movie. That's what I would do.
That's
Dave,
brilliant.
you've thrown a bold gauntlet down. So we've got a lot to live up to now.
I tell you what, you write a script this weekend, and And we'll get on to that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune in next week to see our feature length movie.
The Dave's remake of Don't Open Till Christmas.
I think it would be very fun to make this movie. And maybe not the movie we watched, but the one that you're talking about. I think it would be very fun to make. As you said, I think you mentioned that they didn't necessarily have fun making this movie. There was some conflict in different directors and all sorts. You said that yesterday. But the other two things that I would change would be it's similar to like just tell us the story, but Kate figures everything out and then immediately gets killed without telling anyone. But we didn't get to see her do that investigation. Like she made a phone call, she turned up in a waiting room, and then that's it. We never find out what she does until she exposes it to the killer. And she also like she goads the killer. Like she's in a room on her own with the killer and doesn't try and placate him, doesn't try and get away, just seems to antagonize him. So I would change all of that and get a more strong story from that. And the other thing I would change is I would put Cliff in the Santa suit in that photo shoot scene, and when he steps out onto the street, it adds to his insensitivity and his lack of taking the situation seriously. And also it would be so much more engaging to see the protagonist in mortal threat. If he was the protagonist, like Alex said, it wasn't entirely clear who was. But it would have been such a better moment, I think, in the film if he was under threat. Even if he still got arrested for public indecency, it would still work. There would be this conflict between, yes, I was doing something wrong, but also I was under threat. I think that would have been a nice touch.
Yeah, there's a huge amount to mine there, actually. I think Cliff in the Santa costume. I can't believe that we didn't think of it. I can't believe that they didn't think of that, but I can't believe that none of us mentioned that before. Is that would be absolutely perfect. Is Cliff in this Santa? Because then all of Kate's opinions towards that are so conflicting. The idea that he's put himself in danger, the insensitivity of it, the fact that that's brilliant. Yeah, that's really good.
I think you're both correct. I think these could go straight into my remake. I mean, write those two scenes. We'll put those in, and I like your phrase, Alex. There's a lot to mine, because that's how I see this movie. I think there would be a lot that we could lift and then drop into this film. I don't know if you two have seen the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No. Any good?
So I quite like it. I do. It's a good movie. And what I do like about it is it works in its own right, but also if you've seen the first movie, it takes what you're expecting and then like twists it a little bit. So it gives you certain expectations of what might happen, but in quite a few moments it goes in a different direction. And I feel like our remake would have that similar effect, because it will stand alone if you haven't seen the original. If you have seen the original, then we get that scene where instead of then we get that scene where Cliff puts on the Santa costume.
I'd change the twist as well. Sorry, standing that one in.
Yeah, of course, the twist has got to go. I mean, I like.
Sorry, what was the?
Sorry, say that again.
Well, aren't you talking about the bomb at the end?
Well, I'm talking about the bomb. Also, the whole Giles stuff. I mean, the bomb doesn't make any sense. I mean, what's the point in the bomb, for goodness sakes? And it's just to end the film, have something to end the film, basically. And also that's the title, Don't Open Till Christmas. That's a reference to the bomb, but the bomb's really not part of the plot. The bomb's just there as a little, Don't Open Till Christmas as a title is meaningless, I think. I think we could come up with a better title.
Unless this was a film about people getting killed by
present bombs.
Yes.
That could be really interesting, because anyone could be a target and you never know. And you'll always see people dying in a moment of it, like, oh, what's in here? Death.
Yeah.
Rather than running for their lives through the London dungeons, which is also good, but it would just be a different movie. Obviously.
Yes. It's less interesting, though, seeing people being blown up. Because what was good about this film was the different ways that people were killed.
so many different ways.
It was yeah, really nice.
Yeah.
God, it's taken me like an hour to get to a compliment, and I'm really sorry to the mates of this film because I did enjoy stuff about it, and definitely one of those things was the different ways in which people were killed.
We're going to edit this down to 10 minutes, so you'll get to your compliment quicker.
Oh, good. Maybe by the end of this, my whole thing, it'll be about 50% compliments. It'll look like I really, really enjoyed the film.
So on that note, did you like our improvements to Don't Open Till Christmas? Or have you got improvements that you feel you could add to make it a better movie? If you have, drop them in the comments below. And join us for our next Christmas horror review in a few days' time.